They made her clean a patient's vomit with her bare hands. No gloves. No mask. No dignity. The smell clung to the air like something alive, thick and sour, crawling into her throat the second she stepped into the room. The fluorescent lights above flickered faintly, casting a pale glow over the bed where the patient groaned weakly, unaware of the silent audience gathered just outside the door. Avery Sloan stood frozen for half a second. Just half a second. Her fingers hovered over the box of gloves mounted on the wall, instinct guiding her, training, hygiene, protocol. Then a voice cut through the moment. "Don't bother." It was calm. Cold. Almost amused. Avery turned slowly. Nurse Brinley Cade leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, perfectly composed like she wasn't standing in the middle of something degrading. "If you can't handle this without hiding behind latex," Brinley said, tilting her head slightly, "you're in the wrong field." A few quiet chuckles echoed behind her. Avery's eyes flicked past Brinley. 3 nurses stood there watching. Not helping. Watching. Like this was some kind of test. Or worse, entertainment. Avery swallowed. Her throat burned. She looked back at the gloves. Then, she lowered her hand. "Good choice," Brinley murmured. Avery turned back to the bed. And stepped forward. The first contact made her stomach twist. Warm. Wet. Wrong. Her hands trembled slightly, but she forced herself to keep moving, to focus on the rhythm instead of the humiliation crawling up her spine. Behind her, someone whispered. $10 says she quits by lunch." A soft laugh followed. "Make it 20. Avery heard every word. Every single one. But she didn't stop. Because quitting wasn't an option. Not after the conversation she had the night before. Not after the look in her father's eyes. Not after the one rule he gave her. Don't tell anyone who you are. The memory hit her hard. The quiet dining room. The untouched food. The way he leaned forward, elbows on the table, his voice low but firm. "I mean it, Avery." Not a single person. She had frowned, confused. "It's just an internship." "No," he said. "It's not." There had been something else in his tone. Something she couldn't name at the time. But she understood it now. Standing there. Humiliated. Exposed. Tested. This wasn't just about her. It never was. Back in the room, Avery finished cleaning, her hands aching, her pride bruised but intact in a way that surprised even her. She stepped back, breathing carefully through her nose. "I'm done," she said quietly. Brinley pushed off the doorframe and walked in, inspecting the work with exaggerated slowness. A pause. Then. "Next time, try not to look like you're about to cry. It's distracting." More laughter. Avery nodded. "Yes, ma'am." And that was the moment Brinley decided something. A subtle shift in her eyes. A flicker of something sharper. Avery Sloan wasn't just an intern. She was a target. The rest of the shift didn't get easier. If anything, it got worse. Tasks piled on her like bricks. Room 219 needed a full linen change. Room 203 needed assistance. Supplies needed restocking. Charts needed updating. Mistakes, real or imagined, were always hers. "Avery, did you forget to log this?" "No, ma'am, I." "Then why isn't it here?" I'm not sure." Unbelievable. Every correction came louder than necessary. Every criticism just a little sharper. Every instruction designed not to teach, but to break. And yet. Avery stayed quiet. She listened. She nodded. She absorbed everything. Even when her legs ached. Even when her hands felt raw. Even when her chest tightened with the effort of holding everything in. Because she was watching too. Learning. Not just medicine. But people. Patterns. Who spoke up? Who stayed silent? Who looked away? And who enjoyed it? By the second day, the whispers had started to spread. She's not gonna last. She's too soft. Why is she even here? But someone else noticed something different. Tamsin Rowe. She wasn't loud like the others. Didn't laugh as easily. Didn't join in. She watched. And what she saw didn't match the narrative. Avery wasn't weak. She was controlled. Deliberate. Like every reaction was measured. Like every insult was being stored somewhere. That realization unsettled Tamsin more than the bullying itself. Because it meant one thing. Avery wasn't just enduring this. She was allowing it. On Wednesday, things escalated. A charting error, small, fixable, turned into a full confrontation. Brinley slammed a clipboard onto the counter. Are you trying to get someone hurt? The entire station went silent. Avery blinked. No, ma'am. I followed the. Clearly you didn't. A pause. Then quieter. More dangerous. Or are you calling me incompetent? A trap. Everyone knew it. Avery hesitated for a fraction of a second. Then lowered her gaze. No, ma'am. Good, Brinley said. And walked away. But not before making sure everyone saw it. The message was clear. Avery Sloan could be pushed. And she wouldn't push back. By Thursday, Avery looked different. The neat edges of her composure had softened. Dark circles framed her eyes. Her movements were slower. But she still showed up early. Still worked harder than anyone else. Still said, yes, ma'am. And that's what made it worse. Because it became boring. Predictable. Brinley needed more. Needed a reaction. So she planned something bigger. Friday morning. Full staff meeting. Everyone present. Doctors. Nurses. Admin. A stage. Avery felt it before it started. The tension. The way Brinley stood at the front, too composed. Too ready. We need to address performance issues, she announced. Avery's stomach tightened. This was it. Brinley turned slowly. Locked onto her. Some interns think showing up is enough. A few chuckles. Avery's hands clenched at her sides. She's been sloppy. Slow. A liability. Each word landed heavier than the last. Avery opened her mouth. But Brinley raised a hand. If this were my decision, she'd already be gone. Silence. Thick. Heavy. And then. The doors opened. No one spoke at first. But the shift in the room was immediate. Subtle. Electric. A man walked in. Not hurried. Not loud. But every step carried weight. Authority. Recognition rippled across the room. People straightened. Voices lowered. Director Sloan. The name moved through the air like a current. Avery didn't turn. Not yet. She didn't need to. She already knew. Her father's presence was something you felt before you saw. He stepped forward, calm, composed. Continue, he said. Brinley hesitated. Just for a moment. Then recovered. As I was saying, this intern is not meeting standards. Which intern? He asked. She gestured directly at Avery. This one. A pause. A beat that stretched just long enough to matter. Then. That's interesting. He walked closer. Each step measured. Intentional. Until he stood beside Avery. Close enough that she could feel it. The shift. The end of something. The intern you're referring to, is my daughter. The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. They landed with a weight so heavy it crushed the room into silence. No one moved. No one breathed. It was the kind of silence that didn't just fill space, it exposed people. Avery didn't look at anyone. She didn't need to. She could feel it. The shift. The panic. The realization spreading like a slow infection through every single person who had laughed, watched, or said nothing. Director Avery Sloan didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Interesting, he repeated softly, his gaze settling on Nurse Brinley Cade. And that was when Brinley's confidence finally cracked. Not visibly at first. But in the small things. The way her shoulders stiffened. The way her jaw locked just a second too late. The way her eyes flickered, not with guilt, but calculation. Sir, I wasn't aware. No, Sloan said calmly, cutting through her words without effort. You weren't. A pause. A long one. Long enough for everyone to understand that what came next mattered. That's precisely why this matters. He took one step forward. Then another. Measured. Controlled. Each movement pulling the room tighter around him. I placed her here without status. Without protection. Without advantage. His voice was even. But there was something underneath it now. Something colder. And what I saw this week. He let the sentence hang. Not for drama. But for impact. Was not training. A nurse near the back shifted uncomfortably. Someone else looked down. Avery still hadn't moved. Director Sloan, Brinley tried again, her tone steadier now, forcing control back into her voice. With respect, interns are expected to handle pressure. It's part of. Pressure, he repeated. Quietly. Not loud. But sharp enough to cut. You call humiliation pressure? No one answered. Brinley didn't either. Not immediately. She adjusted her posture slightly, as if recalibrating. This is a high-performance environment, she said carefully. We push interns to meet real-world demands. If she struggled, that's unfortunate, but... Sloan prompted. That single word ended her. Because there was no safe way to finish that sentence anymore. Brinley hesitated. And in that hesitation, she lost control of the room. Sloan turned slightly, his gaze sweeping across the staff. Room 214. A ripple moved through the nurses. Avery felt it too. You instructed her to clean a patient without protective equipment. It wasn't a question. Brinley's throat tightened. That was a judgment call. It was a violation. Flat. Final. No room for interpretation. A murmur broke out. Quiet. Nervous. You denied her breaks. No response. You assigned her disproportionate workload. Silence. You publicly humiliated her. Now the room felt smaller. Like the walls had moved in. And you did it, Sloan continued, his voice dropping just enough to make people lean in, because you believed she had no power. That was it. That was the truth no one wanted said out loud. Brinley's composure shattered completely. Sir, with all due respect, you're taking this out of context. No, he said. And this time, there was steel in it. I'm seeing it clearly. A pause. Then. You're terminated. Effective immediately. The words didn't explode. They sank. Slowly. Heavily. And when they landed, they stayed. Brinley blinked. Once. Twice. Like her brain refused to process what it had just heard. Excuse me. You're done here. Still calm. Still controlled. But this time, unmistakable. The room broke. Gasps. Whispers. Movement. Someone dropped a pen. Another nurse stepped back like distance might protect them. Brinley laughed. But it wasn't real. It was sharp. Hollow. Defensive. You can't be serious. Sloan didn't respond. That silence told her everything. Her laugh died instantly. You're firing me? Over an intern? No, he said. I'm removing you for cause. That word, cause, hit differently. Because it didn't just mean termination. It meant record. It meant documentation. It meant consequences that followed. Brinley's face drained. You don't understand what you're doing, she said quickly, stepping forward now. I run this unit. You remove me, this entire. This unit, Sloan interrupted, will function just fine without you. Another pause. Then quieter. But it won't function like this again. That was when the fear spread beyond her. Because this wasn't just about Brinley anymore. This was bigger. Much bigger. Sloan turned slightly. Tamsin Rowe. Tamsin stiffened. Yes, sir. You observed this week? Her throat tightened. Every eye in the room turned toward her. This was the moment. The line. And everyone knew it. Tamsin swallowed. Then nodded. Yes, sir. Sloan held her gaze. Then you'll submit a full report. Her heart pounded. Yes, sir. And anyone else who witnessed misconduct. His eyes moved across the room. Slow. Intentional. We'll do the same. No one spoke. But the message was clear. Silence was no longer safe. Avery finally lifted her head slightly. Just enough to see. Not with satisfaction. Not with revenge. But with something far more dangerous. Awareness. Because this wasn't the end. This was the beginning. And the hospital knew it. The investigation started that same afternoon. Not quietly. Not discreetly. But fast. Decisive. Like something that had been waiting too long to happen. HR flooded the ICU wing. Administrators followed. Offices that had been closed for years suddenly opened. Files were requested. Schedules reviewed. Reports pulled. And one by one, people started to understand something terrifying. This wasn't just about one intern. This was an audit. A full exposure of everything that had been buried under routine, authority, and silence. Brinley didn't leave immediately. Not at first. She stood in the hallway outside the conference room, phone pressed to her ear, voice low but frantic. You need to call him. Now. Pause. No, this is serious. Another pause. I don't care what meeting he's in, tell him I need. She stopped. Her eyes shifted. Because Avery was walking past her. Calm. Steady. Unaffected. And for the first time all week. Brinley looked unsure. Avery, she said quickly. Avery stopped. Turned. Their eyes met. You didn't have to do this, Brinley said, her voice dropping. We could have handled this differently. Avery studied her. For a moment. Then. I didn't do anything. And that was the truth. Because everything that was happening, Brinley had done to herself. By the end of the day, 3 more nurses were suspended. Not fired. Not yet. But removed. Pending investigation. Names that had laughed, watched, participated. Their confidence gone. Replaced with something raw. Uncertainty. Fear. By evening, rumors spread through the entire hospital. Fast. Uncontrolled. The intern was the director's daughter. They fired Brinley on the spot. HR is pulling records from the last 6 months. People are getting reported. Every hallway carried whispers. Every department felt it. Something had shifted. Something irreversible. And in the middle of it all, Avery Sloan walked through it quietly. No announcement. No title change. No dramatic moment. Just presence. But now, people moved differently around her. Spoke differently. Looked at her differently. Not because she demanded it, but because they finally understood something they should have known from the start. Power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it waits. And when it reveals itself, it doesn't need to fight. Because the truth does the damage on its own. And this time, the damage was just getting started. If you have ever been treated slightly, drop a comment. We read and appreciate every one of them. Like and share our stories and subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming stories. We will see you on the other one.